handstand tutorial. This is what I typed into YouTube before watching over 11 and a half hours of content about flipping your body 180 degrees with your hands on the floor like your feet are in dire need of Wi-Fi. Videos from 30 seconds to 20 minutes, 1,000 views to 6.4 million from 6 years ago to literally this week. I then wrote down and summarized each individual video with added knowledge of my own so I could provide you with the most single holy source of information about standing upside down. Like a lot of topics we'll be covering today, some videos were more thorough than others when it came to form. Some videos micromanaged every f***ing muscle in your body, while others went straight to throwing your ass in the air. It's videos like that prevented me from unlocking my handstand for almost 2 years. Hands a perfect shoulder width or slightly wider apart with your fingers spread and bent for pressing. The shoulders shrugged up and properly elevated with your traps engaged for proper overhead reach. The core and glutes always remained engaged with a posterior pelvic tilt to keep the body straight. The legs remain straight with your knees locked with your quads engaged. And finally, the feet, toes pointed directly upwards. When I say to engage a certain muscle, that doesn't mean squeeze it as hard as you can. Just keep it tight enough that your form doesn't slack. You'll thank me later. Handstand balancing is a lot simpler than you think, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Every video has its own spin on how to balance your handstand, but a few things remain unchanged, like the 2 ways you can fall out of balance: underbalance and overbalance. To counter overbalance, you simply press with your fingers to counterforce your body's fall. To counter underbalance, I was met with 3 methods: either pressing with your palms while relieving pressure from the fingers, bringing your shoulders forward, then pressing back up to keep your center of mass above your hands, or simply keeping most of your body's pressure on your fingers at all times, technically keeping yourself in controlled overbalance. Next to the handstand hold, there are also other minute skills that one should consider, like the kick-up and the bail. The kick-up is the most common handstand entry as it requires minimal strength and flexibility to perform, all while being incredibly efficient and reliable. Done in a piked position with the shoulders elevated above the wrists at all times, one leg kicks the ground, creating the initial momentum while the other swings upward, driving the hips over the shoulders before finally straightening the legs. The bail, however, is when shit goes sideways. Literally. The bail is a common dismount from the handstand, often when overbalancing. Turning the hips slightly to the side of your choice and releasing pressure from one hand, perform a mini cartwheel in order to land on your feet safely. While most sources recommended some sort of cartwheel or wheel-out bail, others recommended some sort of rollout or somersault. Yeah, no. There's no way in hell I'm combat rolling out of my handstand. Let's say, theoretically, one day while scrolling on your phone, you see some jacked guy standing on his hands and you say, "Hey, I want to do that, but I don't know if I can." But YouTube's got your back, right? In classic YouTube tutorial fashion, random exercises are thrown around with random rep ranges with little to no justification behind them. So I, along with the side of YouTube with some common sense, have come up with these basic requirements. When it comes to strength, it is said over and over again that the handstand is the relatively strength element, and I completely agree. But if one does lack the strength, it's going to be incredibly hard to get anywhere. The only things required is some really basic shoulder strength and endurance. Simply being able to hold your body weight overhead on your hands. You can measure this easily by simply trying to aim for a wall handstand for at least 1 minute. Next, extremely basic core stability and strength. A lot of videos that I watched really emphasized on core strength for some reason, but the Handstand is not a core strength skill, so I don't know what the hell they're talking about. And luckily for you, you will probably already have these requirements met if you were training calisthenics at all before training the handstand, your pike push-ups, your planks, etc. And next we have mobility. Basic mobility in your wrists to prevent injury while performing the handstand, and then overhead shoulder mobility for proper elevation, and hip and hamstring mobility for efficient kick-ups. Handstand progressions are very different from other progressions, such as static progressions, being less focused on varying difficulty and more focused on technical and subjective aspects, such as getting used to being upside down and developing proficiency in different areas like hand coordination and improving your kick-up. Most of these progressions are by no means necessary for developing a proper handstand and are to be taken with a grain of salt. Nonetheless, the most common progressions sorted in order by frequency from YouTube include the frog stand, the pike hold, elevated pike hold, wall handstand, headstand, handstand attempts, and then finally the handstand hold. Exercises. Wow. Looking for handstand exercises felt like taking a quick trip to the sink for a cup of water at 3 a.m. only to find your kitchen has been replaced with a Mariana Trench. I didn't even know half of these movements existed until I started this project, and I will say YouTube did not disappoint. From calisthenics basics and movements you've never even heard of, I've compiled a list of most of these exercises. Chest to wall handstand, back to wall handstand, wall walks, floor shoulder stretch, pike push-ups, wall kick-ups, hollow hold, shoulder shrugs, butcher's block stretch, pike hold, elevated pike hold, shoulder taps, bird dog, kick-ups, and the plank. If you yourself want to learn the handstand and just shot yourself in the foot after reading off that list, you might want to check out this tutorial that I have for the handstand. It is meant for complete beginners, and it is probably the most information-packed handstand video on the internet, other than this one. This is just a funny idea that I had, since we're already talking about the bullshit that is handstand tutorials, and that was the average time promised to learn a handstand in every title and thumbnail I could find. These time frames range from 3 weeks to only 5 minutes. And after calculating, the average time you should learn your handstand is approximately 12.834490747 days. Good luck. This video took me over 4 days to even prepare for, and it's probably going to take me over a week to even edit. So if you did enjoy this video and learned something from it, or want to see something like it in the future, make sure to let me know. You know exactly how to do that down below. And with that, gravity is just a guideline.